Washington Post national security reporter John Hudson, who has that exclusive reporting, and MSNBC host of The Weekend and associate editor for The Washington Post, John Capehart. John and Jonathan, so there's no confusion. We've had a lot of Johns on today. John, tell us more about what your reporting shows.
Yeah. Now, to put this in context, the administration has been relentless in saying that no classified information was shared in Signalgate, whether that's the President of the United States, the Defense Secretary, or the former National Security Advisor, who was ousted in part for his role in creating this signal group. Now, what we have today in our report is the most concrete evidence contradicting that idea. Now, contradicting the claim that nothing was classified. It's because the texts that came from Secretary Hegseth's account come from a classified email labeled secret no foreign. Now, that means that were the information to be disclosed in an unauthorized way, it was believed to cause serious jeopardy to national security. And the no foreign label means that it is not to be shared with any foreigners, including senior officials who belong to close U.S. allies. That just shows how important and sensitive the information was viewed, that it was classified this way. And just to bring people back, what we're talking about, the text that Hegseth's account sent, that included the aircraft, the weapon systems that were involved in a sensitive strike in Yemen. It involved the approximate time when it was, potentially endangering aircraft. So it's a significant revelation. It is now in the hands of the Inspector General of the Defense Department, and that could be released anytime in the next couple months, depending on how the Pentagon watchdog decides to handle this affair.
So, Jonathan, I want to play the comments from the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, about this new reporting.
There was a reporting just 15 minutes ago from the Washington Post that says Secretary Hegseth's signal messages were coming from an email classified secret. What is your response to that?
And you're surprised? I mean, I challenge Hegseth or Gabbard, bring your butts down to Norfolk, Virginia, and explain to the friends and family of the sailors on the Truman where those planes were launched that you didn't put their loved ones in harm's way.
Surprise or not, do you think there will be any consequences for Hegseth? Obviously, we'll see what the investigation shows, but would it matter that he denied it to Congress under oath?
No. And I only say that because we're talking about a Republican-controlled Congress that doesn't seem to be into holding people from the executive branch accountable for things that they have done wrong. I mean, the reporting in the Washington Post today, John's reporting, shows clearly that the denials from the Secretary of Defense, from the White House, they're just not true. And also, even if the Washington Post didn't report the story today that the information came from classified email, the fact that a reporter, was brought into a Signal chat, that was unsecure and therefore public, therefore open to hacking by foreign entities. Those three things right there should have led to massive hearings, which there were some hearings, but he should have been, meaning the secretary, should have been held accountable for doing what he did. Remember, the entire 2016 presidential campaign was all about Hillary Clinton and her emails. How quaint that seems compared to what we're talking about right now.
So, John, the defense secretary does have the power, right, to downgrade, to declassify classified information. Do we know if there was any attempt that was made here?
You're absolutely right. The Secretary of Defense has that power, but there's absolutely no evidence that that has taken place. And in fact, our sources say that that did not take place. And one would have expected the Pentagon to come forward and say, look, the Secretary of Defense and his powers decided to downgrade that intelligence. The reality is that claim has never been made. And if you take yourself back to when this first published in the Atlantic magazine, this was a moment when Secretary of Defense was on his plane with a very small group of reporters, a small group of aides, I should say. And as soon as he landed, he got off the plane and said none of this information was classified, and basically stuck to that line this whole way through. So even if he wanted to, after the fact, say that, oh, I'm going to downgrade this intelligence, it would be in contradiction to, the initial lines that he said, which were it's just not classified. And so really that was sort of the genesis of this entire issue.
John Hudson, thank you so much for your great reporting. And John Capehart, stay with me.